Warning: the following reading contains content that some listeners may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Desert Willow and her children finally got to the camping site in the Foal Mountains. They have been planning for this trip for months and have waited until school ended to get out of Manhattan. They needed an escape from the city life, and they thought a small camping trip was just what they needed. Desert Willow, who was a unicorn, pulled up to the camping site in her little mare and colt. Yucca Leaf, an earth pony, and Rattletail, a unicorn, got out of the cart. Rattletail preferred to go by the name Rattlesnake because not only did the name Rattle make him feel like a foal, but Rattlesnake gave him the mindset of a courageous adventurer. Desert Willow humored him with the name, but always knew he would be her little Rattletail. On the way, they brought the radio to listen to music and always sung along with their favorite song, Eternity, by Coloratura, came over the radio. As they got out, Yucca Leaf took out her plant book and started looking at the trees and nearby plants. Desert Willow always saw her future as an amazing botanist. Yucca immediately got down on her knees and looked at the white flowers sticking out of the ground.
Hey Mom, look, it's the white trottinum. It's the white just like freshly falling snow.
Yucca said as she poked it with a hoof.
Can we take it with us back to Manhattan?
Desert Willow smiled but shook her head.
I am sorry, dear, but we cannot take it with us. It belongs to the forest. How would you like it if someone came to you and took something that was yours?
Desert asked, and her daughter lowered her head.
I wouldn't like it.
Yucca replied, and Desert's smile grew.
Exactly. But I'll tell you what. If you can find your Polaroid, I am sure the forest won't mind you taking a picture of the flower.
She said, and Yucca's face brightened.
Okay, Mommy.
Yucca said, and she took up to the wagon.
Can we go hiking now?
Desert heard Rattlesnake say from on top of a rock, holding his wooden sword he got from the Royal Guard parade when they visited Manhattan.
Sure, we can go.
Desert Willow got cut off when she heard a branch break in the distance. They were far away from any other campsite, so they would not get disturbed by any pony or walking into some pony's campsite by accident.
What was that?
She asked.
What was what?
Yucca asked as she trotted up to her mother, holding the Polaroid in her hoof.
I thought we were alone here.
Desert said as she looked in the direction of the noise. Yucca followed her line of sight with a raised eyebrow.
Maybe an animal's out there.
Yucca asked.
What animal makes a noise that big?
Desert asked back.
A bear, maybe.
Yucca suggested. There was a few seconds of thinking before Desert shrugged and nodded.
Yeah, I could see that.
She said as she looked around and saw a dark mass start behind a tree. Desert was about to go and look, but Rattlesnake's annoyed voice rang out to her.
Hey Mom, are we going hiking or not?
Rattlesnake asked.
Yes, let's go. Yucca dear, get your flower picture and take the camera with us. You might find some other plant to take a picture of.
Desert said, and soon they took off in the woods, looking around at the trees and taking in the place they were in. However, Desert got a bizarre feeling they were not alone. There was a long period of them walking past numerous trees, hopping over rivers, and climbing rocks, and they had to stop for a moment of rest and relaxation.
So, what do you think of our hike so far?
Desert Willow asked as she took a water canteen from her saddlebag and drank from it. Shortly after, she passed the water to her children.
I think this was the best idea we ever had. I love the trees and the ability to explore. I like to think there is a lost mare in the forest, and when we find her, I can marry her and we will live happily ever after.
Rattlesnake said, levitating the sword with its magic.
You brought a fantasy book with you again, didn't you?
Yucca asked, teasing her brother and making him blush in an annoyed manner.
Hey, shut up!
He said as he took a sip from the water and tossed it to her before taking off in the woods.
Please stay close, Rattletail.
Desert Willow said after him.
Hey! What did I say about that name?
Rattlesnake shouted back.
Okay, Rattlesnake. Just stay with me and your sister, okay? I don't want you getting lost because you saw something more important than experiencing the forest with your family.
Desert said, and Rattlesnake sighed before looking over the hill and gasping.
Oh, Celestial, look at that!
He said, and then galloped behind a tree and over a hill.
What did I just say?
Desert asked as she sighed and then looked down at Yucca.
We better go find your brother before sundown.
Desert looked in the direction of the horizon. It was about 2 hours from sunset, and they would have to get back soon. They climbed the hill Rattlesnake went to, and it only took 30 seconds before they found him overlooking an abandoned small hoofball stadium. It was run down and clearly showed no evidence of being used for a long time. Rattlesnake bounced on the spot and looked up at his mother.
Can we please go look around that place? Please, please, please!
Desert looked at the building and then to the horizon. She bit her lip and then shrugged. If she gave Rattlesnake what he wanted, then maybe he would listen to her a lot more. Not to mention, growing cults needed to explore their world to gain insight about it.
All right, we can go. But we need to get back to the campsite before dark.
She said, and Rattlesnake jumped in delight.
Let's go! Let's go!
Rattlesnake said and trotted forward fast towards the entrance. As they got closer, Desert Willow read the signs of the building. There were banners and plaques that read things such as, "Welcome to the Full Mountain Hippogriff Hoofball Arena. Support your local hoofball team. Hoofball tryouts this weekend, and let's go Hippogriffs." As they got closer to the entrance, Desert heard something faint and odd. As she got closer, it became singing and familiar. Her eyes widened as she realized what it was.
Isn't that her favorite song?
Yucca asked her mother. Desert Willow, on the other hand, began to sweat with fear. Maybe it was just an old radio with a little power left, and the music cut off and a dark shadow darted across the second floor window. Desert immediately pushed her children away from the building.
I think that's enough exploring for one day. We should head back to the camp.
She said.
But we did not even go in! Can't we go in?
Rattlesnake asked.
We can't. I mean, the sun is going down. Maybe tomorrow. We should go now.
Desert Willow said as her ears perked up at the sound of smashing glass.
We must go. Now. There's something in there and I don't want to learn what it is.
She said, seeing something peeking out of a side door. She pushed them forward and then tripped over something large. Looking down, she saw some sort of metal canister sticking out of the ground. She didn't know what the fancy words meant, but there was an icon that everyone knew. A red diamond with a pony skull and crossbones. Whatever was in that container was dangerous and they had to get away as fast as possible.
Go! Run!
Desert Willow screamed as they ran back to the campsite. It didn't take long before they saw their wagon and campsite as they left it.
Mom, what happened?
Yucca asked as they caught their breath.
I don't know. There was something in that building and I didn't want us to run into it.
Desert Willow said before taking deeper breaths and looking at her children.
We will just stay here and explore other areas. Forget about the hoofball building. It's not worth it. We can sleep here and then...
She got cut off when the radio crackled to life unexpectedly. Looking closer at the radio, Desert Willow saw that it was tampered with. It had duct tape and some wires sticking out of it.
Some pony came to our camp and messed with our radio.
Desert said, looking around in fear.
Check our stuff and see if they took anything.
The Colton filly looked through their stuff as Desert Willow skimmed the surrounding forest.
Mom, someone opened my photo box and took my picture with my Tottenham picture.
Yucca said as she tried to hop out of the wagon but fell as it toppled over. Desert ran to her daughter and helped her up.
Are you okay?
Desert asked, but then her eyes widened in fear as the left wagon wheel was missing.
What's going on, Mom?
Rattlesnake asked as he poked his head from their tent.
Some pony is...
Desert began, but stopped as she knew that saying something bad would make them very scared of what was going on.
Nothing. Just a broken wheel. Let's just get in the tent and sleep. We will go to the ranger's office in the morning.
Rattlesnake looked at the wagon and scoffed.
The wagon wheel is not missing! It is gone! Where is it?
Rattlesnake asked, his eyes wide and fear growing.
Is there some pony bad here? Are we ever getting out of here?
Both Yucca and Rattlesnake were getting anxious, so Desert Willow did the only thing she knew how to. She grabbed them both and held them in a hug.
Nothing bad is going to happen to you two. And remember, I'll be here with you, and you will be here with me. We will trot side by side till the end of eternity. You know I still love you.
Desert stopped singing, hoping one of them would finish for her.
I know you still love me. We will be here side by side till the end of eternity.
Yucca finished for her, lightly sobbing. They both pulled away from her and looked into Desert's eyes.
Sorry, Mom, it is just very scary for me.
Yucca said.
Yeah, me too.
Rattlesnake said, but then looked around.
Wait, where's my sword?
They all blinked and looked around.
Did I drop it when we ran from the hoofball field?
I don't know, but we will find it tomorrow. Let's get some sleep, okay?
Desert asked her son, and it took him a few minutes to decide before nodding. Together, they walked into their tent and lay down for the night. A few hours later, Desert was woken up by her daughter.
Mom? Mom, please wake up! Rattlesnake is gone!
Yucca Leaf said, shaking her awake.
What? What do you mean?
Desert Willow asked.
I think he wanted his sword and kept thinking it was somewhere in the forest, possibly back at the hoopball building.
Yucca replied, making Desert shoot up from the sleeping bag and grabbing the flashlight from the travel case and switching it on. There were two and one was missing.
Why would he go? Doesn't he know that you are not supposed to go in the forest at night?
Desert asked her daughter.
Because he wanted his sword. I saw him leave, but I couldn't stop him.
Yucca said, and Desert got out of the tent.
Rattlesnake? Where are you?
Desert screamed out, but her colt did not respond.
What are we gonna do? Should we call in search and rescue?
Yucca asked.
No, he'll be gone and lost before they even get here. He went in the direction of the stadium. We should go there.
Desert said, and Yucca's ears dropped.
Shouldn't I stay here somewhere you can find me?
Yucca asked.
No, our radio was tampered by someone, so they know where we are. If I leave, they might come for you.
Desert said, and her daughter shivered.
Okay, Mom, we should get him.
Yucca said, and then they both froze as they heard a tree branch break in the distance. Desert Willow shined the flashlight in the direction of the sound, but all they saw were trees and darkness.
Rattlesnake, are you there?
She asked, but no one answered. So instead, she changed the topic of her shouting.
If you are the one who rewired our radio, then you listen here. My children and I are not to be touched. If you try, we have the right to defend ourselves.
She said, but they still heard nothing but the sounds of the forest.
We should go, Mom. She's out there somewhere.
Yucca said, and her mother nodded. It did not take long for them to go through the forest before they returned to the hoofball building.
I don't see him.
Desert Willow said, but then she saw Yucca staring slightly downward.
Nobody sees something else.
Yucca said, pointing her hoof to the floor about 12 feet in front of them. Desert followed her indication, and right there on the ground was Rattle's wooden sword, broken in half.
Oh no!
Desert said as she trotted forward cautiously and tried to pick it up. However, she couldn't lift it. She looked closer and saw that the pieces were nailed to the ground. Furthermore, the sword appeared to be pointing to the building doors, and they were open.
This is very bad. Can we call the Rangers now?
Yucca asked. Desert shook her head.
They won't get here in time.
Desert Willow said, and she slowly trotted forward to look inside the building. The door led into a lobby which was run down and had no indication of life. Looking around the lobby, she saw a small office and had a frightening idea.
Yucca, my dear, I need you to do something for me.
She began as she looked into the office and saw that it was completely empty except for a desk.
I need you to hide under this desk and wait for me. I am gonna go find your brother.
Desert looked around and found an old golf club next to a small moldy golf mat and golf balls.
Whatever you do, don't leave this area.
Yucca shivered with absolute fear.
You're leaving me?
She asked.
Only for a moment. Your brother is somewhere here, and I am not leaving without him.
Desert said.
But what if someone is here and they have him?
Yucca asked, clearly remembering the broken sword nailed to the ground.
Then I will hit them with this putter and get him back.
Desert said, holding the stick in her magic.
Just stay here and stay quiet. I'll be back soon.
Yucca shivered with fear, but nodded as she moved behind the desk. Desert left the office and closed the door. Just for good measure, she shoved the desk in front of the door. Knowing one of her children was safe, she moved to the left hallway and looked in some rooms. None had any evidence that her cult was there. She continued to move around and shout his name, but he wouldn't shout back or appear for her. She moved up a set of stairs on the second floor and looked behind the desk before wincing in pain before a high-pitched whine sounded through the building.
Hello, my sweet mare.
A croaked and creepy voice shouted through the intercom system.
Are you looking for something?
Desert Willow looked around but didn't see anyone.
I can see you.
The voice said, sending a shiver of fear through her body.
And I must say, it has been a long time since someone has visited me. This cult here is an amazing specimen.
Desert stopped as she heard the last sentence.
Who are you? Let my son go!
She screamed out.
There'll be enough time for that, I'm sure. But why should you care for him when there's someone else you should be scared about?
He said, and she heard a terrifying scream that she knew all too well. A female scream.
Yucca!
Desert screamed as she ran down the stairs to the lobby. When she got there, the desk she pushed was flung aside and the door was torn away. Inside, the desk was flipped over and her daughter was gone. Both of her children were gone. The only thing that was there was Yucca's Polaroid camera. Desert picked it up gingerly and cried. Her children were in the hooves of a crazy pony. She had to get them back. She walked out the door, but before she could look around, something heavy fell on her head and she blacked out. When she woke up, Desert Willow found herself in a room with glass panes. Looking out of them, she saw that she was in the observation room of the field where announcers go to broadcast a match to spectators and others over the radio. Speaking of which, there was a radio inside that room as well. It crackled to life, playing the tune she knew too well. It shorted out at the end, sending a chill again up her back. Looking around, not only did she see that the door of the place was locked and barred, but she saw a board on the wall filled with Polaroid pictures. Looking closer, her blood ran cold as she saw them depict her cold and Philly locked in 2 small rooms. Not only that, but she also saw notations on them indicating times and notes. By the looks of it, she was unconscious for 3 days.
Hello, my dear. I'm so glad you're finally awake. And here I was thinking about throwing some water on you.
The creepy voice that had spoken to her before said in a speaker in the corner of the room.
Who are you? Where are my children?
Desert Willow screamed at the speaker.
I will tell you where they are in a second. But I think you should know what I do.
He said in a righteous tone.
I don't care who you are. I want my gold and Philly.
Desert screamed and tried to yank the door open.
You are in no position to order anything of me, mare. Now, where was I?
The mysterious stallion said, then cleared his throat.
You see, I worked in a special part of equestrian government biological warfare. I was supposed to create gas to use against our enemies to turn them against each other, but the effects were so severe that I was kicked out of the department. I needed to find some way to make the gas work and get back in with them. The animals around the place worked perfectly, but I needed real specimens. I needed ponies.
Desert's heart stopped as she looked at the board of the Polaroid photos.
And that is where you took my children?
She asked.
Perspective one, aren't you? Yes, your children were ideal candidates with their fresh minds and able bodies. How could they not? And now you get to see the results of my work. If you look at the window facing the field, you'll find a pair of binoculars and a shiny red button. Why don't you go and see what the button does?
The voice said with a sick laughter. After he was done, the intercom speaker cut out, leaving her alone. Looking to that window, she saw just 2 of those items as well as the Polaroid picture of the white tritium. Taking the binoculars and looking through them to the field, she saw that the field was horrifically covered in dead animals of all varieties. Not only that, but she saw 2 metal crates about the size of a wagon. Gulping, she hoofed the button and with steam, the 2 crates opened the doors and out came her children. She was at first relieved to see them, but Desert Willow gasped in fear as she saw their bodies. Their eyes were constricted into small dots, there were cuts all over their bodies, and they were foaming at the mouth. Desert banged on the window and they looked up at her, but instead of hope, Snakebite spoke with insanity.
Look, sister, our mother is finally awake, and just in time for our graduation, too. Let's make her proud.
He said, giggling and holding not a wooden sword in his magic, but a machete.
Oh yes, I think she would love to see you stronger.
Yucca Leaf said, holding up a small bag with a smoking tip on the end. A buzzer sounded out and they charged at each other. Desert Willow watched in horror as Yucca threw the bag at Snakebite, who dodged it at the last moment. The bag hit the ground and set it on fire. Snakebite swung at Yucca with the blade and she dodged at the last moment. Desert was helpless to watch as her children fought each other for over 5 minutes. Snakebite making small nicks on Yucca's body, and Yucca getting close with her bags, sometimes even getting Snakebite's mane and tail on fire until he rolled over to put it out. Desert Willow cried, begging for them to stop, but it only fell on deaf ears.
Remember this moment, my beautiful mare. This marks one of the most beautiful moments in equestrian history. And when this is done, you and I will go forward and be remembered forever. and I will be with you for all eternity.
The stallion said through the speakers. Desert was in tears as she continued to watch her children fight. She bashed the binoculars on the window on the side of the office, and despite a crack forming, she was not going to get to them fast enough. Snakebite hid behind a flipped table as Yucca hid behind a mound of corpses.
This was fun, sister! But I think it is time we ended this!
Snakebite said as he raised his sword, shaking off some blood.
Agreed, brother. But I think we both know who the better choice is.
Yucca said as she primed another bag of explosive contents.
Me!
They both shouted and they sprung from their hiding places and charged at each other. Snakebite's machete was aimed at Yucca's heart while Yucca threw her bag, aiming to set him ablaze. Her bag hit him on the face, setting his body on fire. But he didn't stop as his machete cut through the fire and sunk into her chest and into her heart. Desert Willow screamed in agony as the window finally caved outward and she climbed outward, not caring about the glass that cut into her hooves. She just needed to get down the bleachers and to her colt and filly.
I am the best!
Snakebite shouted at his sister as his flesh burned.
No, I'm the best!
Yucca shouted back as her throat spurted with blood. They yelled again and again as she got closer. Their bragging and hate soon turned to screaming as the fire not only ate at Snakebite's flesh, but started to burn Yucca too. Before Desert was even 10 feet to them, they were in the middle of a bonfire. She had to stop at the intense heat, but her eyes never left theirs as they stared back at the pain and horror that afflicted on each other.
What a beautiful display, my subjects! When this reaches the university, they will welcome me back with open arms!
The crazy stallion said over the speakers. Desert Willow turned to the speaker with hate in her eyes.
Why would you do this to them? They were only children.
She shouted out loud and a breaking in her voice.
Why? Because progress demands sacrifice. You may see me as a monster, but progress does not happen without risk. We will meet again, and you will look at me with reverence. Goodbye, Desert Willow, and remember, I will be with you for all eternity.
He said, and with that, the speakers cut out for the last time, leaving Desert Willow in a hoofball field with the burning remains of her children. It rained as she screamed up to the sky.
Why? They were just kids!
She screamed one last time before falling in the mud, mixing with water, blood, and ashes. It was about 6 months ago since the horrific event that claimed the lives of her children and the rescue of Desert Willows. The search teams looked high and low for this evil stallion, but despite many efforts in the hoofball grounds and the surrounding forest, they didn't find him at all. If it wasn't for her neighbor, Timber Pines, to tell them where she was going, they never would have found her in that field. No university or branch of the equestrian government knew anything about this stallion. Despite their efforts, no one could help Desert Willow get the justice she needed for the deaths of Yucca Leaf and Rattletail. It took many months of therapy before she was able to come back and accept that what happened was not her fault. One day, she went to her favorite cafe and ordered coffee. Her ears picked up as she turned to a radio in the corner of the store. And that was Dusty Trails by Heartland Grace. Now before we get to the news in Manhattan, I have a special request from a gentle stallion to a wonderful mare by the name of Desert Willows. He said that he enjoyed their time they had in the Foal Mountain camping grounds and wishes her the best in the future. Now, by request, here is Eternity by her talented coloratura. Her eyes widened as she knew who they meant, and as the song played, the horrible verse was sung.
I will be here with you.
Desert Willow broke down crying as her mind fractured in the heartbreaking memory of her children slaughtering each other and that horrible stallion grinning at her and laughing, his voice ringing in her head.
I will be with you for all eternity.